Okay. This is going to be our second or third installment of Geniuses on the Internet. We know there's a lot of them out there. They know better than everyone. So, there's been, well, first of all, let me go ahead and, this is not part of what I was trying to demonstrate. Let me go to my channel here. This all pretty much started when I made a video on this Hisense portable air conditioner. So I've been away for, I don't have nothing interesting, but here's some China pride. And basically I was showing off this air conditioner because that's what I do. I film things, I show air conditioners. I made it very clear, I said it in the video, and I said it in the description, this does not belong to me. We'll get to that in a second. I would never buy one of these. So I said that very clearly in the video. We'll get there in a second, but this isn't even the important part of what I have to say. Basically, I was demonstrating the air conditioner, showing how it worked, but I also mentioned how these units are very inefficient because through this tube here, they blow hot air out, which draws a negative pressure on the room, and it draws hot air in from either other parts of the house or or outside. And if it's drawing air from other parts of the house, then it's going to be drawing air from outside in the other parts of the house, and it's going to heat up the rest of the house. It seems to be a pretty simple concept, but people don't understand it. Now, let me start off by saying, I understand if you don't know about air conditioners, how they work, or even how the portable units are inefficient. If you don't understand that, that's perfectly fine. But if you don't know what you're talking about, why are you going to act like you do, act like you know better than everyone else, and argue with not only me, but other people who are HVAC technicians who do this kind of stuff? They work on stuff every day. They know what they're talking about, and you're going to argue with them. So, whoa. First of all, we have this guy who said, portable ACs don't suck air into the room. They exhaust. The tube is meant to push hot air from the system. Yeah, I know, that's what I said. And then I explained again to him how it works by creating a negative pressure, and then this guy goes, ACs work by recirculating the same air over and over again, cooling it every time. So negative pressure is not in the pictures here. Generally, ACs do not transfer air from room to surrounding. But portable units do. That is the whole problem. I hope you get it. No, or else I will share a very informative AC working video. So this guy doesn't seem to understand that air conditioners have two coils. They have a condenser and evaporator. I'm sorry, we're talking about stupid people here. They have a hot coil and a cold coil. The cold coil, yes, it does recirculate the air, and yes, it does quote-unquote cool the air, although it's not really cooling it, it's just moving heat. And then the hot coil has to transfer that heat somewhere, so it's transferring it outside. We'll get into how portable units work and why they're bad in a second here, and maybe then some of these people can understand. And then we have this guy who commented on someone else. Somebody else said, I don't even know what they said. This guy says, I think he must be exhausting hot air into the rest of his house. It's mind-boggling that the rest of his house would get hot as a result of these air conditioners. Now this guy, Kick You in Half, is going to pop up again here. I don't know why these are so long. Why these are so screwy here. He goes through a whole thing. He says, pretty whiny for someone who paid chump change for an air conditioner designed to cool a single room. Now, I made it very clear. I said it at the beginning of the video, I said it several times in the video, and I said it in the description. It's not mine. And then this guy says, did you ever think about closing your door? Well, that's not going to do anything. Or buying a dual hose portable air conditioner. And once again, I mentioned how a dual hose air conditioner would be better. So, yeah, but once again, I didn't buy it. You do live in a house, so it would make more sense to just get a central air conditioner. Once again, for the 5th time, I mentioned it multiple times, and multiple times that it's not mine. Furthermore, a central air conditioner is not going to make any difference as far as that goes. Yes, it would be more efficient, but so would a cheap window unit. So the argument that paying quote-unquote chump change for a portable unit, although those things are like $400 and some dollars, doesn't add up, because you could buy a $200 window unit and it would do a lot better job and use a lot less power. And then he goes, this is like buying a piece of shit Ford and then wondering why it's so much slower than a Porsche. So I go on to say, like is mentioned in the description, I should have said in the video because I said it there too, it's not my air conditioner, I would never buy it. And then, yeah, these things are cheap. I mentioned in the video a dual hose unit would work better. This video is designed to show you why not to get one of these, and my points are valid, blah, blah, blah. It does cool a room just fine. We come back to this in a second. Yeah. And, yeah, I do get really tired of people not listening to the video or not reading the description. And then he goes, what's wrong with you? You keep whining like you're going to win a prize. Now, I don't know what this guy's deal is. I think we need to turn it around and ask what's wrong with him. I'm not whining. I'm not complaining. It's not my air conditioner. I don't give a shit. If you want to go out and buy something that's going to be a piece of junk, do it. I'm just trying to save maybe somebody who's wondering about getting one of these a bit of headache. Don't buy one. Just admit that you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. For the price, these things were perfect for my apartment. Had one in each room and couldn't have been happier. Well, I bet you if you would have taken your energy cost with those compared to if you were just using a normal window unit, which costs a lot less in the first place, the energy cost would be a lot less. And then he goes on again to central air conditioning. Central air sucks. I don't like central air, but that's beside the point. It would be better than a portable unit, but a window unit is just fine. Why would it heat your whole house if you had your doors closed like you're supposed to? And you're welcome. Well, you're welcome for what? Having the doors closed would have nothing to do with it. It creates a negative pressure. We will explain this in a minute. And then this guy goes, chill out. I was just trying to help. How the fuck are you helping? Hope you have a great evening. I'm about to go and have a swell time. Now I can tell by this guy's attitude that he's either... He's purposefully trying to be aggravating, but I just find it amusing how stupid people are. So whatever. I explain it again, that, yeah, they create a negative pressure, and, yeah, you don't live in a vacuum, so if the air conditioner is removing air from the room, it is creating a negative pressure, and that air is coming back in to make it up from somewhere, but we'll get into that in a second again. And then he replied, like, 20 or 30 more times, but he deleted all those comments, unfortunately. So, yeah. These people are insane. Now, these are only 2 examples of people who can't grasp of this very simple concept. There are many of them. So I always link people to this video from Technology Connections. He explains not only how air conditioners work, because apparently people think that they just magically create cold. He explains not only how air conditioners work, but why the portable units are inefficient, and how these standard window units, the cheap ones, are better. If you look at a portable unit, they have 2 BTU ratings. One is for the actual cooling that it's producing, and the other one is for the, it's compensating for the air that it's removing. So let's demonstrate this. First of all, let's look at a regular window unit. We're going to pretend this is a wall, and I'm drawing with a mouse here, so I apologize. This is a wall. This is your wall, your bedroom wall, or whatever. Your air conditioner's in the window. Right here. This is a standard window unit, right? This is the outside part, and this is the inside part. I'm sorry for the terrible drawing. The outside part has a vent here. Some of them are on the top, some of them are on the side. It doesn't matter. There's a vent here, and then there's a coil on the back. the inside part has a vent here and a vent here that where it blows the air out and sucks it in. So if we're looking, now this is the hard part. This is the condenser and this is the evaporator. But we're just going to call this the cold side and the hot side. The cold side sucks room temperature air, or after a while it gets cold, room temperature air in here, and then it blows out. It removes the heat from the air and blows the cold air out here. So you are basically recirculating this air. So that part of what the people can't understand, that is correct. You are recirculating air on this side. However, the hot side also exists, because air conditioners don't magically create cold. They remove heat from the room, from the air, using refrigerant. I'm sorry, you're stupid. Using Freon. There we go. That's a word, right? Freon, even though that's not what it's called. It's refrigerant, but Freon, because people can't understand. I don't understand why they say that. Anyway, it uses that, and that heat is then transferred to the coil on the outside, which is the condenser. Now, it draws air from outside over this coil. It goes in here, draws it over the coil, it heats the air, and that air is going outside. So you are recirculating air on the outside and recirculating air on the inside. That is how it works. If you have a split system, like a central unit on the like a regular central air unit, you've basically got, what am I doing? You've basically got one unit inside. It's under the house or in the attic or somewhere, but basically it has the cold coil in it. There's a set of lines which the Freon, once again we're calling it Freon because we're explaining to idiots, the refrigerant runs through, or sorry, Freon runs through that. And then there's a unit outside with the condenser in it. That's the one with the big fan on it. And it's doing the same thing. It's sucking air into there and moving it over the coil. And then it's sucking air through inside here, and it's moving that over the coil. So it's basically doing the same thing, just for the whole house. It's a larger system. They work in the same way. All air conditioners have an evaporator and a condenser, or a hot and a cold side. Now, let's look at a portable unit. Here is your wall. It's blue. Here is your wall. This is your wall. This is inside the house. This is outside the house. And I'm actually going to make this not just a wall, but a complete square or room. This is your room to show you how these work, because once again, people don't understand a simple concept. This is your portable unit. Right here. It's a lot bigger. But anyway, now we're talking about the regular single hose portable units that everyone has. There's a hose that runs out the window. The way this works is up in the top part. The cold coil, or the evaporator, is up in the top part, and the hot coil, or the condenser, is generally in the bottom part. They suck in air from the room, they cool it, or once again, they remove the heat energy from it, and they blow that back into the room. So it is indeed recirculating air on this part, cooling the air. Now here's where the problem lies. It also has to cool the condenser coil, but the condenser coil, or the hot coil, is inside the room as well. So it's going to take air from inside of the room, it's going to blow that air that is inside of the room over this coil, and then it is going to exhaust this hot air outside through that hose. The problem is, you are taking air that you just cooled, and you are blowing it over here, heating it up, and blowing it outside. So you're blowing air that you just cooled outside. The other thing is that this is creating a negative pressure. A lot of people don't seem to understand how this works. If you are removing air from this area, it is going to create a negative pressure, meaning there's a negative pressure in here because you're removing air from the room. There's air blowing out of this hose. That air originated from in the room. The air conditioner did not magically create it. It is coming from this room. It is blowing over that coil, and it is blowing it outside. Okay, do we understand that? The air's coming from in the room. It is creating a negative pressure. Now, since no rooms are perfectly sealed, if they were, this would not work, because you would be in a vacuum. Not that these units are strong enough, there just wouldn't be air coming out of the hose, but if you were just removing air from an area and no air was coming back in, you would be in a vacuum. Now, most of the time what happens is you have cracks and little small crevices in the house. No house is perfectly sealed, so you're going to be pulling air from outside back in through little cracks, little crevices, so it's going to be coming in all around, and that's going to be hot air from outside coming back in. So therefore, the unit is removing air from the room, drawing in hot air from around other places, and then it's going to have to cool that again just in order to blow some of that air that it just cooled back outside. So therefore, they are constantly fighting themselves. Now, how does it heat up the rest of the house, you ask? I'm glad you asked this, because this is also a very simple concept that people don't seem to understand. If you have another part of the house, say here's another room, right? This is another room or something that's connected to this room. If you've ever looked at bedroom doors, or really any doors inside the house, you'll notice they're not perfectly sealed. There's a gap all the way around them, especially at the bottom. There's sometimes up to like an inch gap around the bottom of the door. So this is going to be our door. There is a gap there. There's a gap there. Sure, this is your door. Now, once again, the rest of the house isn't sealed, so we're still going to have some air coming in around these areas. But at this point, since your house does have other rooms, if you're in an apartment, this doesn't matter, but you're still bringing air in from outside, which is making the unit run harder. Let's say you're not air conditioning this other part of the house, but it is kept a lower temperature than outside because, I don't know, you have good insulation, or it's in the shade or something, you know. Well, you're going to be drawing hot air in from outside around these areas, and in this room, since it's closed off and it isn't air conditioned, the whole room is going to get warmer because you're not air conditioning it and you're drawing hot air in. Now, a lot of people have the argument, oh, well, these things aren't very strong. They don't, you know, they're not that strong of a blower moving air outside. Well, if it's moving air outside, even at a very low rate, it is still sucking air in from somewhere. So this room is now heating up because it's coming in through here, around these cracks, into this room. And once again, that's hot air coming in that this unit has to cool just in order to blow a good amount of it, because these actually do move quite a bit of air through that hose. If you've ever felt the air coming out of a hose, that hose, it's a good amount. It is going to move that air through the condenser, it is going to heat it up, and then it's going to blow it outside, which is going to in turn draw more air in. It is going to heat up the room, and it is going to have to cool that air that it just brought in. So these units are constantly fighting themselves. Now that is only the negative pressure thing, and the fact that they're very inefficient is only one of many downsides of these units, including the fact that they take up floor space, they are noisy, and between the shift from running and not, you know, the condenser fan and the compressor kick on and off. They are quite loud. The difference between running and not running are quite noticeable, which can be annoying compared to a window unit, which is not that noticeable. A lot of them also have drainage issues. They're supposed to evaporate the air and blow it outside, but a lot of them get plugged up real easy. They're harder to take apart and clean, and obviously they all are cheap Chinese junk that's going to break in 3 years anyway. They also cost a lot more than a standard window unit. Now, I'm not saying that these units, I'm not saying that a portable unit will not work. I never said that. In fact, I said it would work in the description. So the people who go, oh, I have one and it cools just fine. Well, that doesn't matter. I never said they wouldn't work. I just said they're highly inefficient. I just said that they cost a lot more. They don't work as well as a window unit of the same size would. All of that is true. All of that is why you should not buy one of these unless you have to as a last resort. And if you have to have a portable unit, get one that has 2 hoses, a dual hose unit. A dual hose unit, which are kind of hard to find, but they exist. A dual hose unit has 2 hoses. These are hoses. So it's doing the same thing on this side, but it is going to draw air from outside in through one of the hoses, and it's going to blow hot air out of the other hose. These are somewhat better, but they cost a lot more than even a standard unit with 1 hose, and much more than a window unit, and they're still not as efficient. You're going to get heat radiating off of this hose because they're all thin, shitty, and it's drawing air from outside, so there's going to be heat coming off of that. The unit itself is going to produce some heat, and it's going to come off of that anyway, just from the heat from the compressor and whatnot. So they are still very inefficient. Very inefficient. Now, I am not Mr. Energy Efficiency. As you know, I have quite a few old air conditioners from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're fine. They work better than the new ones, so I think they can take as much power as they need to. But they take a lot, they don't really take a lot more power. These things do. And it's not like they work better. It's not like they last longer. They are just using a lot more power. They are wasting energy for no good reason. That is the problem with these units. They are highly inefficient, and aside from being, I don't know, you can roll it from one room to another, it doesn't, I don't know, there's really, unless you have a window that an air conditioner will not fit in, a window unit, there is zero reason to have one of these. Because window units are cheap, they last longer, they work better, and they're more efficient. So hopefully, this video has cleared up some of that information, some of that misconception that people, for some reason, can't understand about how negative pressures are created. Once again, if you still can't grasp it, or even if you do understand, I recommend you watch this video. I will put a link in the description, because I've always, whenever somebody tries to argue this with me or with someone else, I always link them to this video, but they never watch it. They never watch the video. They don't want to understand how it works. They just want to argue. That's what it is. I don't understand how you can have no idea what you're talking about, and you're arguing with people who do, and you're arguing with damn licensed HVAC technicians, like telling them they don't know what they're talking about. It's absurd. Anyway, I hope this video helps some of you dumbasses, and yeah.